Hello, welcome to the program, Like Nobody's Business. I'm Kristen McMillan. I'm the President and CEO of the Las Vegas Metro Chamber of Commerce. The Las Vegas Metro Chamber has been at the forefront of developing leaders and connecting leaders within our community, those who are making things happen, people that are innovating and moving our region forward. People who run businesses, nonprofits, governments, and other organizations. Leaders with real fortitude to dream big and to make bold moves. Those who are taking charge like nobody's business. And we're here to tell you their stories. So today, we're going to be talking about the business of hockey and Major League sports. And so we're so honored to have with us today Kerry Bubolz, who is the president of the Vegas Golden Knights. So Kerry, first of all, welcome and thank you for being such a great member of the Chamber of Commerce. And also I want to congratulate you and the Vegas Knights on getting us to such an exciting and an important milestone here in this community. So I first want to ask you this. This is our first Major League franchise here in Las Vegas. Very exciting for us, and now we have the opportunity to bring in not only hockey but football. Why do you think now is the time for Las Vegas?
Well, Kristen, I think, and first of all, thank you for giving us the opportunity to come in today. Las Vegas has been the entertainment capital of the world for quite some time. So even though we may be the first Major League sports team in Las Vegas, this town has been putting on Major League events for a long, long time. So it shouldn't be unfamiliar from that perspective. But obviously, we're incredibly excited to be here. There's been a lot of work to get us to this point. And on October 10th, we'll actually open up the season with the first NHL hockey game here in Las Vegas. Regarding the Raiders themselves, they're obviously going to be following, and they'll be here within 3 years. But I think it just speaks to a bigger opportunity that the market is really going through right now. There's been a lot of growth that has happened here in the market in terms of the actual size of the market, the visibility of Las Vegas, not just nationally, but even internationally. And so when you add two great brands like the National Hockey League and the visibility that it will bring along with the NFL, you really start to create something that's special that just goes on top of what was already happening here with all the great entertainment and activity and gaming that takes place in the market.
Very exciting. Let's stop for a moment and talk about a sports team culture. I mean, we are, as you mentioned, the entertainment capital of the world, and this is going to be additive to what we do. But I guess my question is this. You came from Cleveland, and you were at the Cleveland Cavaliers, and they recently won a national championship. So we know that Cleveland has a reputation as being a major league sports culture with the team sports that it has. So do you think that Las Vegas can become a major league sports team culture? I mean, what do we have to do in Las Vegas, or do we not want to emulate those other cities?
Well, and again, it depends on certain situations. In Cleveland, there was a long time where that sports history wasn't all positive. There was a 52-year period where people really took it personally, and it affected even just the how people felt about their community because of what was happening where they weren't winning. So it can kind of go in that direction, but it does define a community. And to say that you're a part of the major leagues, I think is an important distinction. So we're excited to be a part of that. But I think as we look at this, as we go forward, we're fortunate that the game of hockey, there's already a lot of people in this marketplace who are familiar with the National Hockey League. Maybe they're from other markets like Boston or Philadelphia or Chicago that have strong NHL following, but now they're in Las Vegas. This is their home, and this is their team, and we're pretty confident that they're going to be following and then ultimately creating their own connection to the team. But ultimately, they've got kids and grandkids, and they're going to grow up with this being their team. So in terms of the culture that's kind of a part of it, ultimately, we have to put a great product on the ice, and we have to provide an experience that people feel great about. But it'll be real easy for people to want to call this home because we're going to be as connected to the community as we possibly can, and we're going to make people proud. And that's really what sports does and what it can bring. There's a lot of economic value associated with a Major League sports team, but there's also a lot of intangibles. And for me, I think it gets back to how it can bring a community together. On Monday, you think about the National Football League. Mondays after the Sunday, people are talking about the big game. Well, that happens in the NHL as well. and other major league sports. And so it brings people of all demographics together to talk about something that's common, and this is their team.
And you mentioned the economic benefit. What do you think the economic benefit is going to be to Southern Nevada?
You know, some of it's going to be difficult, at least initially, to define every single component of it. The things that we do know and things that we may have talked about before would be the things like the actual payroll itself. So we know there's going to be about $100 million in payroll that we're going to provide to the community between our full-time business staff, all of the players, and then all of the part-time team members or employees that are going to work the 40-plus events at T-Mobile. You've got close to 1,000 people that it's creating economic benefit to as part of the jobs that it's going to create. But those are the direct dollars. There's significant other impacts when you think about the restaurants and the hotels and the impacts that happen from that. And then there's also, when you think about these games, so every game in the National Hockey League is televised. So we'll televise the game here locally for the people of Las Vegas and throughout our broadcast territory. But every NHL team that's coming here, they're also telecasting that game back to their home market. So whether it's New York or Chicago or Boston and some of the other great cities that are out there, it's almost like a 3-hour commercial for Las Vegas in those markets. And oh, by the way, why don't you come visit Las Vegas and maybe see your team play when they come here? So there's a lot of, I really feel like a year from now we'll be able to better define what those more intangible benefits are, but they're significant in terms of their impacts in addition to those direct impacts that we know are going to happen from the team. Those
are pretty powerful opportunities for us. I want to talk just about you for a minute. You were 13 seasons with the Cavs, as I understand. It was a long time. You talked about the history of getting them to a championship, and that was a long time coming. Now that the Cavs have a national championship under their belt, they're at a pretty high level, I would think, at this point in time. What attracted you to come to Las Vegas, and what about the experience that you've had in the past do you think can really benefit us with this expansion team?
Well, I was, first of all, for quite some time I've had a real passion for the game of hockey. It's always been my favorite sport. So in addition to our NBA team in Cleveland, we actually owned and operated a minor league hockey team. So I still kind of got my connection and hockey feel, if you will, with that experience. But as we looked at Las Vegas and we looked at this opportunity, this is an expansion team. These don't come around very often, so it was very unique in terms of that sense. And I also was really looking for that opportunity at the National Hockey League level to lead the business operations of an organization. And so when the opportunity came up, it was one that definitely jumped at. I did my research about Las Vegas and was really pleasantly surprised to learn about all the great things that people aren't as familiar with about our community. And I think that's part of the opportunity. We got to get out and tell that story more often, that we're more than just what happens on the Strip and all the great restaurants and casinos and gaming facilities. Those are terrific. But there's a lot more that this community has to offer, and it definitely got me excited about that opportunity. And then as far as things that I would bring from that experience, I mean, in addition to the fact that I really saw how the team, again, was able to connect the community in a lot of different and very unique ways outside of the economic connection that it brought. But we went through some situations where we were in very high demand selling environments, and we went through some lower demand selling environments in the time that I was there. And so really learned a lot about the business of marketing a professional sports team, and really feel like those experiences are going to really help me in this environment as we build this thing, not just for today and for this first season. We're going to have success. We're going to fill it up. People are excited about what's going on. But really, to make this thing work, it's what happens 5 years from now, 10 years from now, 15 years from now. That's really what we're trying to build here, not just something on the short term. And I really believe those experiences in Cleveland are going to allow me to kind of learn from those to help us build this for the long term.
And you've talked about the business of Major League Sports, and I guess we have a lot of diversity and innovative business owners in this community, and hockey is just going to add to the diversity that we have. But people don't know very much about the business of running a hockey franchise or our Major League franchise. What would you say is the most challenging issue that you're going to face here in Las Vegas?
I think probably the most challenging component of what we're going to be doing is what ultimately happens on the ice sometimes defines the narrative of what the franchise is. And so, and what I mean by that is if you're not successful from the winning and losing, sometimes it can be associated that you're not a good franchise. And if I look at my time in Cleveland, the 4 years I'm most excited about, we had a combined record which was the worst in the NBA. But I felt like our business performance was at its top. And so, unfortunately, people will take, we're an expansion team. We're not going to win the Stanley Cup in year one. And we're looking to lay the foundation on the ice to build towards something that's special that ultimately leads to winning a championship for the Vegas Golden Knights and winning that Stanley Cup. But that does take time, and my hope is that narrative, if we have a streak where we lose 8 or 9 or 10 games in a row, where they start to associate just that with the organization and the business, when ultimately, sometimes it's just hard to control. There's injuries that might happen. There's other things. There could be a trade of a specific player. There's just a lot of things that make it's really hard to win a Stanley Cup and be successful year after year. And so I'm hoping that narrative doesn't become negative, because we want to do all the right things. This is the community's asset, and we want to make sure that all of those components, that people really do feel a part of it. And so, we'll see how it plays out.
This is an expansion team,
Mm-hmm.
as you mentioned,
Right.
and you recently went through a draft. So curious to know whether the way you position or approach a draft for an expansion team is different than just those teams that are already in place.
Well, it's quite a bit different, because the other 30 teams, they're drafting from an amateur pool. So they're drafting from players that aren't currently under contract to other National Hockey League teams, where in our instance, the way the expansion draft was set up is we had the opportunity to pick one player from each of the other 30 teams. So they were able to protect certain core players, one of their goaltenders, 3 of their defensemen, 7 of their forwards, or some combination of 1 goalie and 8 skaters. But the rosters are 23 to 25 people, or players. So as you can imagine, there were 15 to 20 guys per roster that were unprotected, that we were able to go through and pick one from each team. So that is a big difference. The other teams don't get that same opportunity. But what did happen with this expansion draft versus 2000, when Columbus and Minnesota came into the league, is they changed the rules to allow us to be more competitive sooner. So those teams were able to protect much fewer players than what they were able to protect in previous expansion drafts. So the league really made some significant changes in the rules, which allowed us to to ultimately have a unique opportunity to build our roster. And then our general manager, George McPhee, did a terrific job of basically going to the other general managers in advance and saying, if there's a certain player that you really like but you couldn't protect for whatever reason, because of numbers or contract situations, make us a deal not to protect that player or not to pick that player. And so we did several deals that were associated with that type of negotiation, which allowed us to get more younger players as part of the amateur draft for the building of our team for the future as well. So there was a lot of chess being played during that 72-hour window that we were able to negotiate with the other teams as part of this process.
That's fascinating. Thank you. Let's go back to talking about some of the community impacts and benefits. I know you are in the process of building a $17 million practice facility up in Summerlin, and I think that's really important for the community to know that you're building that in a neighborhood. So
Right.
what is that going to do, and what is hockey going to do for our community, for our youth, and what benefits are there to us in that regard?
Well, it's actually closer to 30. So it's on time.
Oh, okay.
The owners don't like to hear this. It's on time and over budget. But yeah, we're very excited about that, because right now in Las Vegas, there's only 3 sheets of ice for youth hockey, for adult hockey, and any hockey-related programming like figure skating and things like that. So we're going to add 2 more sheets of ice to the market, which is going to allow us to build the game. Unfortunately, if you look at USA Hockey and the members our kids that are actually playing in a structured USA Hockey environment, we're one of the lowest in the country, but that's just because it's a newer game to this area. So we're very comfortable with the fact that we've got a lot of opportunity in the market, and that once you put a stick in a kid's hand and he starts to learn just the basic rules of how great this game is, we know that we can build it. But we got to get sticks in kids' hands, and then we got to teach them how to skate, and then ultimately they're going to want to play in a learn to play program and start to play at the younger levels, and ultimately build fans of the game for life. But it all starts with those 2 sheets of ice and getting people exposed to it, and that's really what we're going to do through our practice facility in Summerlin. And then as we build forward, we're looking at other strategic places around the market to add more sheets of ice and start to build the market in the game of hockey. There's several great examples, whether it be in Southern California with what the Kings and the Anaheim Mighty Ducks have done, or Dallas, Texas, or in Phoenix with the Arizona Coyotes. There's a lot of southern tier markets that literally had 0 hockey when they started 15 or 20 years ago, and now they've got multiple rinks in the market, and it really has built those brands and solidified them in their communities.
So you're a fairly recent resident to Southern Nevada. How are you finding the community, and what do you like to do here?
Well, first of all, everybody's been so nice. It's been awesome, and it's just been absolutely terrific. When they find out that I'm with the Vegas Golden Knights, they immediately say, "Well, I'm a big hockey fan," and then I ask them, "Well, what's your favorite team?" And they've all got a favorite team, which is awesome, because down the road they're going to say the Vegas Golden Knights as we build this great game. And then the things that I like to do is really hang out with my kids. They like to go to a lot of the concerts down on the Strip. So Friday night we're going to go to Pitbull. We've already had the opportunity to see Bruno Mars, which was a lot of fun, Carrie Underwood, and so I like to take my kids to the concerts that they want to go and just hang out with them.
Well, I can see that because you got a big smile on your face
Yeah.
when you're talking about that. So one last kind of fun question, we all have sports idioms and metaphors that we use from time to time, and hockey has its set of own, and I like to say skate to where the puck is going to be. So in the world of business, what idiom do you think fits best?
I really think it's you got to keep your head up. And so in the hockey example, if you're skating with the puck and you're looking at the puck, you're leaving yourself open to not a very good situation, which someone might take you off that puck and take you off your feet and really let you have it with a hard hit. But in business, I think it really applies to making sure that you're not always just in the business, that you're taking the time to pick your head up and look at your business and look around. And too often, companies get so caught up in being in the grind of the day that they forget to pick their head up and just look around. And so I think it's one that really fits both on the ice and in the business world as well.
Well, thank you, Kerry. That's good advice, and thank you for being such an integral part of this great historical milestone. We can't wait for October 10th,
October
right?
10th, yes.
And I know that in very short time, we are all going to say that the Vegas Golden Knights is our very, very favorite hockey team. So it's time to say goodbye. Our time has gone by so fast, as it always does. Please join us next time. And you can always find us on social media at LV Chamber, whether it's our website, Facebook, Twitter. So please follow us, please like us, and we'll see you next time.